Bated breath, Nigerians await the president's decision on the recently passed Electoral Act Amendment or Electoral Amendment Bill. Will be given assent as it is, or will it call for further modifications? These are questions in the minds of Nigerians, on the lips of many. The National Assembly transmitted the bill to the president for his signature, but nothing has been heard on the bill. The controversial sections of the bill which might be responsible for the president's delay is INEC's introduction of modern technologies into the electoral process. The lawmakers empowered the electoral umpire to determine the use of electronic voting as well as transmission of results in an election. Another part that generated widespread reactions over the bill has to do with the use of direct primaries for political parties in choosing candidates for elective offices. Civil societies and many other unions and groups have been urging the president to sign the 2021 Electoral Act Amendment Bill into law. So this is the crux of our discussion in the next couple of minutes. So joining me now for this is political analyst Ayodele Adewale. It's nice to have you join me in the studio.
Nice having you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great. And also joining me from Abuja, a former chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council and political analyst Kabir Shitu. Kabir, good morning. It's good to have you join me. All right. Now let's start from the studio. I know you've been okay. I think he's back now. Kabir Shitu, can you hear me? Good morning.
I'm hearing you. Good morning.
Great. Good morning. Good to see you. All right. We'll come to you shortly. Yes. All right. Now, let's start it this way. When it gets to times like this where decisions have to be made about how a whole process is going to either become better or take a new dimension, so many Nigerians, usually, especially politicians, come up with so many different dimensions of these things, their perspective, their postulations, and all of that sometimes even truncates the whole process. Why do you think this Electoral Amendment Bill is becoming too controversial beyond what Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, would expect?
Well, it's because we have a different shade of opinion, and we are created differently, and we also understand from a different point of view. But the major thing is that the superior view, the most acceptable one, by majority of the people, will take sway. And you know, politics is about the people, so it is what the people determines on the basis of the rule of law that what will take center stage.
All right. Now, Kabir, let me come to you on this. That you have been in the center point when it comes to working within political parties and working with other political parties as well. Talk to us basically when it comes to let's start from the issue of the direct primary elections. What is your take on this? Because Nigerians are saying that we have tested the indirect primaries, and let us move to the next one and see experimentally, maybe that might be better than direct primaries. What do you say?
Thank you and good morning to Nigerians. What I want you to note is that for us, luckily, I've been in the political system since 1988, and by 1992, I was the coordinator to Bamanga Tukur. And at that particular time under NRC, you can see where the NRC, all the two political parties has over about 19, each of the state has their own presidential candidate, and we go to primary and things. Come back to this dispensation. If you say direct primary, yes, it gives right to the card carrying members, but you look at the time. Everything has time. Everything you are doing in life has its time. At this particular time, it's a wrong time for us to have direct primaries, in the sense that we have the insecurities that we are dealing with. We are looking at it that how will political parties move from one ward to another and move materials, and then there are so much area that gangster and co will come and attack them. Apart from the security side, if you look at the type of money that the INEC will spend in conducting these primary elections, you are not talking of 2 political parties. You are talking of how many political parties? So many political parties. You talk of logistics. If you look at the situation of the country today, it is not feasible unless we want to plunge the country into chaos. It is not possible for political parties at this particular time to go into direct primary. That indirect primary saved a lot, and it reduced a lot of things. Even if you look at democratically, that is why you see when you have indirect, first of all, the card-carrying members will elect their delegates. The delegates will come to the center and elect that person that is going to represent them. It's still the same thing. It's still, I don't see, for now, our opinion is that electoral direct primary should be expunged. There are, if you look at the Electoral Act, there are good areas, and especially when you are talking of electronic votings. That is very good for Nigeria. We must move forward. We have seen what it happened in Anambra. It's a kudos to INEC and kudos to the government. Now, move from there. You talk of the boxes, how to arrange the electoral materials. You must have all political parties or all the candidates must have their agent. That is very good. That is bringing about transparency. Next thing I expect, instead of direct primaries, is for us to say, how do we safeguard the voters and the vote? How do you safeguard? By bringing in what we call Electoral Offences Commission. Because if you bring Electoral Offences Commission, then you can start talking of direct primary, so that if you are attacked, there are commissions that could come up and then be able to punish the offender. The country must always think of punishing and then reward. These are 2 things that must go pari passu. Now we are just giving out. We don't even put measures with which to punish the offenders. And the little limit area, let's say the police, that could take up this cannot. How many police do we have to go around now? What are the perimeters that we have put? What are the measures that we have put in place for us to checkmate if there's anything that goes wrong? Therefore, the situation of the country as at today, I want to urge Mr. President that yes, the Electoral Act, as good as it is, that particular section from 87 should be expunged. And then let the National Assembly look the country first, not themselves, not anybody. We must love this country. We must give to this country what it takes. Direct primary at this particular moment is not go well for the country.
All right. Adele, you have listened to Kabir Shitu talk about the, make a case for the timing. You say the timing is wrong, and then the issue of the cost of it. He also cited the issue of security and all of that. Now, what do you make of that, of the cases he has raised, the points he has raised?
I earlier spoke about the shades of opinion. Mm-hmm. It's more like a rainbow. Well, he's entitled to his view, but he's totally wrong. Totally wrong. Time will never wait for you. You have to determine on how you hinge on time and all of that. If you're talking about security, if all the security agencies put their hands on the plow, definitely we'll have no problem about that. If it's on the basis of security, then we should not have any election in Nigeria, knowing fully well that we have a lot of security gaps and questions. He also spoke about INEC conducting those primaries. INEC has nothing to do with the conduct of the primaries. INEC is only coming to observe the primaries.
So the political party do their thing.
They will conduct their primaries as they deem fit in accordance to the provision of their constitution. The INEC is only coming there to observe. So INEC is not spending any money than transportation fee to get to the point of the primaries. If you're talking about issues surrounding COVID-19 and all of that, of course, people will wear protective gear. They're not going to put everybody in one space. Particularly, they could do it along the wards. Take, for instance, the APC. When they were doing their recent registration, they did it at the polling booth level structure.
So everybody didn't have to converge.
You don't have to bring that mammoth crowd to one point. No. They could use the polling booth structure. They could use the ward structure. They could even determine that, look, for every 100 persons, this is the venue you will use, and there'll be social distancing with protective gear, washing your hands, sanitization, and all of these things. So, and I do align a bit with what he has talked about with technology. But if you also look at the timing right now, we can still deploy technologies to this. So it's nothing out of this world to say that the people must not be part of electing their leadership. And that is what will even drive our democratic system more forward. If everybody have a sense of ownership, then some certain class of people would not be, put on the majority.
Right.
And it will also curb corruption. So it will not be based on the money bags. Everybody would, that means you have to go and break the World Bank in order to finance such thing. Your popularity will determine, and your pedigree will determine. Your participation in community affairs and party affairs will determine where you go to. You understand? So the people already know who is who, especially for those who have governed them. They know who have failed them. They know those who have improved on their well-being and societal status, and they'll be driven towards that line.
All right, Kabir, you heard Dele in the studio. One thing that Nigerians have talked about basically is the issue of inclusion, a situation where Nigerians have more say in choosing who their leaders are. That is part of the debate on the streets generally, why the bill seems to be very popular amongst Nigerians. What do you say about this?
Look, when you are talking of a democratic process, my political party may have, the constitution may be different from the other political parties. The other the party A or party B or party C may have different manifesto, different electoral process, and then you allow now. You said we are no more. Everybody talks of, are we going to unitary government or unitary purpose now? When you said every political parties must conduct direct primary, we have political parties that don't even have the money to go around. They don't have the resources with which to go around, and that is why they will call they go for delegates elections, so that it will reduce the burden on them. Now, if you want a new party or new people to spring up, and you said it will be direct primaries, you are still already telling Nigerians should understand this, that those political parties that have government are the political party that will have resources to go into this. Those political parties that doesn't have the resources will continue to be declining, and they could not be able to conduct those elections, and you will now use that act to stop them from participating in the election, that they could find their own constitutional way with which to go into that election.
All right, Kabir, let me ask you this.
Political parties.
Yeah, Kabir, let me ask you this.
To be able to look. Hello.
Yes, let me ask you this.
Hello.
Yeah, let me ask you. Now, the point there is there is also the argument that when indirect primaries is the norm of the day, that in fact, like Ayodele has said, money bags hijack, it's easier for money bags to hijack the system and hijack the process, whereby just very few persons get to determine who becomes candidates. And at that point, there is also the possibility of merchandising, who can become the flag bearer of whatever political party based on cash and carry. What do you make of that?
In fact, it is when you are calling for direct primaries that you now see the money bags hijack. Because if you don't have the resources, you cannot go into direct primaries. how, we have 774 local government for a party to be able to put resources to go into. But that's why I'm saying the resources is enormous, and it is more easier for money bags. And go to the last we conduct direct primary in Nigerian, why I'm referring to 1992, go to 1992. You see that people that won those tickets, especially the first ballots, even in Lagos, Yaradua won in Lagos. Are you telling me that Chief Jakande is not popular in Lagos as at that moment? That time Jakande is popular, but Jakande has no money. So you see that they won in Lagos because he has no resources to go around. But that's the last I think we've seen of direct primaries. Now we are talking, what I said, now is not a right time, despite the COVID, despite the new COVID that is coming out that will affect people. Look at the resources. Where are we going to tap these resources from? Those political parties that doesn't have much resources, how do they get into that? How do they conduct direct primary in 774 local government? It's not possible. When you see, we Nigerians must understand that if you want to take money bags out of political system, it is even better the delegate system, because in the delegate system, a political party could put their house in order and spring up surprises and be able to even take over. And if their manifesto is Nigerian accept their manifesto, they could be able to win. But when you go into direct primaries, the resources that you are going to use, I believe you can only have those parties that have government. Those parties that Nigerians are thinking they will take them out of power are the same party that will be able to get those resources.
Okay.
I hint my issue on resources is for Nigerians to know what it takes to go into direct primaries.
All right.
And look at the logistics.
Let me allow Ayodele to respond to that, Kabiru.
Of the Electoral Act, Electoral Umpire, sorry.
Okay. Let me allow Ayodele to respond to that. Now, he is saying that, in fact, in the situation where there is in the indirect primary system, that is when manipulations are even less comparative to where you have the direct primary, especially talking about corruption, talking about money bags and all of that.
You cannot manipulate the people when they are all gathered to watch you. It becomes very difficult. I can only manipulate you in a closet and try to brainwash you. But when there are lots of people, even if you try to hypnotize them, it becomes very difficult. It's talking about resources. I'll talk from it from 2 points. One from the analog perspective.
Okay.
Now, a ream of paper that has 500 sheets of paper costs 3,800 naira. In every local government, you will not have anything less than, say, 244 polling units. That's the average. In that ream of paper, you have 500. You need this per polling unit to score, analog. I now use technology. I develop an app. You can develop an app just sitting here right now. Then you log in your data. I spend no money here than to charge my phone. And that app can be replicated. So what money are you spending? People should think out of the box. Let the people own the system. When they own the system, they curb insecurity. It makes the process faster. It makes it very transparent, and it makes it authentic. And it also drives government seamlessly. When everybody gets involved, then you spend less. When you take information away from them, you create crisis. And when you create that crisis, you spend more. So people should give governance back to government. The government is the people. The people legitimize your stay in government. So why do you want to ostracize them if you have nothing to hide? And this idea or this saying is coming from those who are in government, few of them that have not performed well. Why are they afraid? They had the opportunity to have performed. So if you don't have what to give, leave the kitchen, let new chefs come in and cook the food for Nigerians. We need to move forward. We can't continue with this analog process, or people telling us that it's not the best time. When will the best time come? When will it come? And time waits for no one. There are a lot of youths yearning to get involved. Bright ideas, great ideas. There are a lot of old people that are ready to also bring in their good ideas, and we sync it and we move Nigeria forward. So it's not about we need to have this big money, have this, have that. Technology has made it simplistic. And if you want to go the analog way too, it's just your pen. This pen cannot cost more than 1,500 naira. And your paper, just write it, and that's all. People queue, you count them. Where will they get the thugs?
So in that case, monies are not necessarily spent, except for maybe you buy
monies are spent, but not in the quantum that they want you to believe. Right. No. And it will be very, very not too good to say that Yaradua is more popular than Jakonde in Lagos. If you wake the two of them from their grave and test their popularity, a Jakonde in Lagos would defeat a Yaradua any day.
All right. Well, I guess he was talking from the dynamics of the outcome of the election in 1992, where the option A4 was used. All right. Now, Kabir, let me ask this question in the minds of so many young people. Now, taking a nomination form from the perspective of an aspirant who wants to contest for any post at all, it is so expensive that people are looking for the justification for why nomination forms for any post in any political party is that expensive. Can you give us an idea why it is so expensive to get nomination form for any post at all? Because it range from between 3 million to 5 million to 10 million to 15 million, depending on the political party and the office that you're running for.
Thank you. Why it happened is because political party want to raise money for the logistic of the conducting of the election. And you find out that those political parties that have government, easily they could raise this fund. Because I'm talking from political party perspective. From 1992, I've been legal advisor of NRC in Abuja here, as far back as 1990-91. I've been coordinator of presidential candidate, which is aspirant, which is Bamanga, in 1992. I've coordinated political party. I've been national chairman of political parties. So what I'm telling you is what I have felt, and I've been contesting from the opposition political parties, and I know what it pinch. And that is why political parties, in order to raise resources, when you are contesting, they charge you, because those are money that they will use for logistic. And that is what we are saying. Those that doesn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 million, and you want them to go into election, you are now talking of direct primaries. That even the candidate or the aspirants, where would they raise such fund? If you are saying it's not the money, resources that you are spending 3 naira or technology, how many villages that you will now disenfranchise? Because how many villages have network? Let us face the reality. That is why you call them from those villages, bring them to ward and to the local government. And that is why it is delegate. Because from those villages, they have chose them. They've sent them here into the ward and to the local government where they have. And from the local government, they now come to national. It also involves human beings. Human beings have already voted from the ward to local government to national, but in a manner that does not involve a lot of resources. But when you are calling for direct primaries, you are now saying, go back to that villages, conduct election, within 2 weeks or within 1 week, how do you do it? If you are talking of technology, that is why I say it is not yet time. In the next 4 or 5 years, yes, we'll have deployed technology, will have, maybe network will have been everywhere. You can now take this technological equipment, those into those areas, into interiors. We are not talking of word, we are talking of the interiors. You know what it takes to go to interiors? Do you know when you are only talking of paper that they will write and pen? If you are buying a pen for 774 local government, just pen, even the paper you are talking there, if you are buying those paper for 774 local government, you know what it costs? Then as a political party, you are disenfranchising political parties. Because political parties, it's not necessary for my party to say I'm going to conduct. Probably my own political party has different constitution. Your political party have different constitution. My political party has different constitution. Now you are you are disenfranchising some political parties.
Kabir, we don't have all the time right now.
Conduct from local government. Okay. Go for indirect primary.
All right, Kabir.
Now you are forcing it from the National Assembly to say you have to conduct direct primary.
All right, your point has been made, Kabir.
Party to go. I've been opposition political parties.
All right, Kabir,
so
your point has been made. Because we don't have all the time right now, let's just give less than 1 minute to Ideally to respond to that, and then we call it a wrap on the program.
Well, I must say that I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed when you put the civilization of Nigeria of now and compare it to the medieval era. I'm very, very disappointed because there is no corner in Nigeria where you don't have communication. And I say this very emphatically because every corner of the Nigerian state, INEC is there right now doing voters capturing and re-registration. So if there is no communication there, how come INEC is registering people as we speak right now? They are revalidating voters' cards and they are registering more people. When you talk about Nigeria, I've been privileged to have sat, organized, and led a mass-based organization, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. I was the public relation officer of NANS when Philip Shaibu, the now deputy governor of Edo State, was president. I have traveled every state in Nigeria, all far-flung points in Nigeria by road. I have crossed the River Niger 12 midnight, even without life jacket. From Aginibode to Ida, I've seen it all. So you can't tell me that any corner in Nigeria does not have digital reach. Even if you don't have base mast, there are satellite communication that you can deploy in order to capture this data. You understand? And in terms of managing numbers, I have managed over 40 million Nigerian students. I have also taken part in elections. I have won elections. I've organized for political parties. So it is a disservice to say it here, worldview, that we cannot run this system as we are presently in Nigeria, or we don't have technologies to deploy in order to save money and give the ownership of the system back to the people that owns it.
All right. We have to leave it here because of time. It's getting a little more interesting from perspectives, but let's leave it here. We might have to get a second leg of this discussion. Thank you very much, Ayodele Adewale, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And Kabir Shitu, thank you very much for your time on the program as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.